Hey, yo, Foxboro. Thank you guys for joining me today for a Patriots at Browns game preview. Thank you guys for being so understanding that I was unable to go live on Monday. I'm feeling a lot better than I have been this week. I still sound a little nasally, so I apologize for that. But yeah, overall, I think I'm hopefully passing this cold. And hopefully that's all it's going to be, because I hate sore throats. I hate being sick, so it's not fun. But like I said, I'm feeling a lot better. So thank you guys for being so kind and sending your well wishes on Twitter. I really appreciate it. And so let's get right into the Patriots at Browns preview. So to start off, I want to go over the injury reports, because the Patriots actually just put out their latest one. I apologize for my cat. This is what she does, so I choose to ignore her. So the Patriots had perfect attendance at yesterday's practice. I believe they may have had nearly perfect attendance today as well. Lots of players have been limited all week long, and we only have one player listed as out at this moment, which was Josh Uche. So that was kind of a surprise. I think he was like a newer addition. I don't recall really seeing him on the injury reports at all this week, but I guess he's dealing with, I think, a knee. Was it? No, not a knee. Oh my goodness. Of course, I don't have it pulled up. Let's see. I'm gonna go on Twitter really quick. Hamstring. Jeez Louise. Everyone's dealing with a hamstring injury. We have Uche, Aguilar, Damian Harris. Jalen Mills was as well. But anyway, so Uche is the only one that is listed as out. No one is listed as doubtful. We did have Jalen Mills, David Andrews, and DeMarcus Mitchell were all removed from the injury report, which is awesome. And we still have a bunch of guys that were listed as questionable, which is Aguilar, Barmore, who was a new addition with a knee. That's where I was getting confusion. Lawrence Guy, Damian Harris, John Jones, Mac Jones, Raekwon McMillan, Jacoby Myers, and Jonnu Smith. So definitely seems like Mac Jones is progressing quite a bit and has a decent chance at playing this week, which will be very interesting. We'll get into the quarterback stuff in a few minutes, but yeah, that's an interesting development. And the Patriots got quite a big win today with the Browns injury report. They've already ruled out Jadeveon Clowney and Denzel Ward. So huge win for the Patriots on offense specifically. I mean, I think coming into this game, you knew Clowney and Myles Garrett were going to be forces that were going to be very difficult to deal with, and the fact that they're now losing one of them and they won't be having one of them on the field is great. And then of course Denzel Ward is great for the passing game, no matter who it is. So far, I wanted to go over this too. So Clowney hasn't had like a fantastic season so far, but I mean, a lot of that comes from Myles Garrett. But Denzel Ward not being on the field is good. So far he has one interception, a fumble recovery, and a touchdown. So that makes me feel a lot more comfortable with no matter which quarterback is throwing the ball, because any little bit helps, I wanted to make sure that I say hi to you guys. Hello. And yes, there is an early cat sighting. This is just what she does. She just wants to be a star, like I say every week. And so she just pays attention to when she sees me talking to a computer and doesn't understand why, but knows that she makes her appearance known, she will be seen by the masses. So I'm sure she will be back shortly. She's currently eating. So anyway, so I want to go through how these teams are very similarly built, and they are pretty similar with how they are performing this year as well. So they both are at a 2-3 record for different reasons, but both are kind of like in most games their losses were like a one play away from being a win. So they're very on par with each other. But I wanted to go over their stats compared to each other, because I feel like that gives a little bit of insight into what the Patriots are going up against. So points per game, there's a big difference between their Patriots are getting 20.6. Cleveland is getting 26.6, which I believe is like, I want to say it was 4th or 6th in the league. So not too far behind the Lions last week. And so knowing that, it's a little bit like comforting just based on how the defense was able to just completely shut down the Lions. And I know a lot of people want to discredit the Patriots for what they did because, oh, well, it's just the Lions. But I think that's kind of unfair because regardless of what the Lions have been in the past and what they might end up being the remainder of the season, they were killing it at the beginning, the first 4 or 5 games. So to take credit away from what the Patriots defense was able to do on a team that just scored 45 points, I think is a little ridiculous. And I know that some people might say the same thing this week if the Patriots defense is able to be successful in shutting down the Browns because, oh, well, it's just the Browns. Well, I talk about it in a little bit, but they have only been a score away from winning a game. They've only lost all 3 of their games have been lost by less than, a single score. So they're another team that is, falling to the same problems that the Patriots have. But here is a big difference in favor of the Patriots. The Patriots are only allowing 19.6 points per game, whereas Cleveland is allowing 25. So that's definitely a huge win for the Patriots in that regard. And that's another shout out to the defense. They're only allowing 19 points, an average of 19 points per game so far, which is huge. And on the road, it'll be even bigger if they are able to do that again this week. Total yards per game, New England is getting 360 and Cleveland's 404. And this is where it starts to get interesting because their numbers are a little bit more close together. So yards passing, Patriots are averaging 222, Cleveland's averaging 212. Both teams are definitely run on the ground. That's just how they're winning games. That's how they're succeeding. So yards rushing, average yards per game, New England 138 and Cleveland's at 192. Obviously they have Nick Chubb, they have Kareem Hunt. I'll get into that in a minute as well. And I would assume that the Patriots, their numbers are probably going to increase, especially with Stevenson. And, he had 161 yards last week himself. So it's kind of surprising to me that it's only 138 yards per game, but I guess that they've been pretty successful. I mean, they've been splitting the snap counts between Stevenson and Harris. So neither of them have really had the chance to rack up a lot of yards in a game, but yards allowed, they're pretty much like right next to each other. New England's allowing 356, Cleveland's allowing 364. Same thing with passing yards allowed. New England is 227, Cleveland 226. And once again, very close on rushing yards allowed, 128 for New England and 138 for Cleveland. So, I mean, as far as what each side of the ball is doing, they're very similar. So I feel like that is an extra element that makes this game a little bit more interesting, because even though the Browns are favored by 2.5 at this point, I feel like it can really go either way. I was just on another podcast yesterday that should be coming out tomorrow morning, so I'll make sure to link you guys. We were talking about the Patriots Browns game, and it was hard, trying to figure out what could the score be, like coming up with a prediction for that, because these two teams are just so close in what they're doing this season. There's not one that I feel like really has an edge over the other. If anything, it's the Patriots defense, because the Browns defense has been not like lackluster, but they're definitely not. Their defense isn't necessarily running the football team the same way that it is for the Patriots. So that's a huge difference. But, the defense hasn't, although it's been amazing. And I see Chris saying that, the defense has been awesome. They have been, but there have been games where they've been pretty inconsistent. And so I think that's something that is important to remember, because as great as they were last week, they haven't been like that every single week. So regarding how these teams stack up against each other, I wanted to break that down a little bit and go by a few important positions, especially because both teams are, like I said, they're built very similarly and performing very similarly. So The quarterbacks, let's go over that first. So, of course, the Browns are going with Jacoby Brissett. And at this point, we really don't know who the Patriots are going with. We have Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi, of course, but there's not a real indication of which way they're leaning. But let's start with the Browns first. So we know that Jacoby Brissett, we love Jacoby Brissett, or at least I do, because he was a part of the Wolfpack with Tom Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo. And so I have a soft spot for Jacoby Brissett. And of course, he became a king when he was asked a question about how difficult is it for him to not be Deshaun Watson. And he said it is very easy for him to not be Deshaun Watson. And I said, king. That is a king. So I loved Jacoby Brissett. I just feel like he seems like such a nice guy. So he's starting in place of Watson. He's 5 starts so far. He has a 64% completion percentage this year through 5 games. He has 1,060 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. So not, star numbers as far as quarterbacks go, but I mean, it's not much different from what we're seeing from Mac and Bailey so far. And what is interesting about the interceptions, of course, Mac has more interceptions, but what's interesting about Jacoby's interceptions is all 3 of those have come near the end of the games, of the 3 games that they've lost. They were all games that were within a field goal at least. And I guess he kind of folded under pressure and ends up throwing an interception at the end of the game. So kind of throwing the game away. What I was looking at is Browns fans are not necessarily unhappy or blaming Brissett for their losses, because he's exceeded so many expectations that people had on him for filling in for Deshaun Watson this season. So I mean, they seem like they're all in. Jacoby's all in, and it's great to see that, because we know how disappointing, or at least for me, I guess I can speak for myself. I'm sure a lot of you agree, but it was really disappointing to see how the Browns handled the Deshaun Watson situation, and how the NFL has as well. And it's great to see at least Jacoby be successful, because that's some unique circumstances that he is under to be filling in. So shout out to Jacoby. So they're definitely a competitive team. They're 2-3, just like the Patriots are, but I believe they're second in their division because their division is such trash this year. So there's a competitive edge for them there, of course, but I think the Patriots can bring it. We have to have the Patriots go on this winning streak for these next, 5 games that they have. That is like a stretch of very winnable games, and they need to take advantage of the fact that they have some easier opponents lined up for them. So hopefully they can continue with a win over the Browns. And so moving on to Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi, like I said, we still don't know who is going to be getting the start. I'm not sure that we're going to know maybe until Sunday. I assume that neither will be listed as out. I don't know. I think it really depends on how much progress Mac has really had this week. I mean, it was reported that he's made a lot, and there was question marks whether or not he was actually going to be able to play last week, and some believe that he was going to, but I read a story that said he was the reason that Zappi started last week. He said, I'm not ready to go, let Zappi start. And so I'm really hopeful that that's an indication that Mac is not trying to force his way back in the game, and acknowledges that if he comes back too soon, that it actually could be a hindrance to the team and to the offense especially. So it's great to see that he's been participating in practices all week. And I just really hope that if he's not 100%, that he doesn't come back, because, even though Zappi is a great story right now and he's holding his own given the situation, I want to see Mac back out there, but I don't want to, below 100%. I don't want a 75% healthy Mac. That's not worth it for the team. It's not going to necessarily help them win, and you don't, of course, want to risk further injury on your starting quarterback. So I'm hopeful that because he made that decision for Zappi to start last week, that he will do the same this week if he feels like he's not 100% there. We know that because he's been playing for the last 2 games that Zappy's kind of in the groove and like understanding and working well with the offense. So, there's no harm at this point in keeping him as the starter. So, Chris says, save Mac for the Bears game. Yeah, that's next Monday, I believe, right? That's fine with me. That gives him an extra 8-ish days. And so, it's a serious injury, and you don't want to come back too soon. And so I'm hoping that they don't. And it seems like there's not a lot of pressure from coaching. I think it's more so of a Mac thing, wanting to get back sooner, not because people, what people are saying of it being a quarterback controversy. There isn't one. There's no competition. There's no controversy. I think it's more of just a kid who's competitive and wants to get back out in the field. So hopefully he can, acknowledge the fact that, if he's not ready to go, he's not ready to go. So continuing on, we get to the running back. So of course it is Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt versus Stevenson and presumably Pierre Strong Jr. and Kevin Harris, who was elevated from the practice squad. So let's go over the Browns first. Cleveland has one of, if not the best running back duos in the league. I think that's pretty obvious to most people, and they're just completely going off this season. Chubb specifically as their RB1. He has 98 carries already for 593 yards, 7 touchdowns. He's averaging over 118 yards per game and 6.1 yards per carry. And he has, out of the 5 games played, 4 out of 5 of them have been games of over 100 yards for Chubb on the ground. So a true test for the Patriots run defense this week, which has been a little bit lackluster this season. I mean, it's definitely gotten better, but with Lawrence Guy being out, it's definitely been more of a weak point on the defense like we've seen over the past few years. And so that is going to need to be a huge focus this week. So far this season, the defenses that have faced the Browns have had little to no success in slowing them down. And this is where I feel like things are a little bit more interesting and work possibly more in the Patriots' favor. So the Browns have played the Panthers, Jets, Steelers, Falcons, and the Chargers so far. And I wouldn't say that any of them have strong elite defenses. I don't know that any of those teams are ones that you can kind of like rely on being ones that would be successful in stopping Nick Chubb. I don't know how the Patriots are going to do, but we do know that they were able to contain the run game last week. I think they only allowed 101 yards, and some might scream at me that it's because DeAndre Swift wasn't in, which is a fair argument, but at the same time, they did have their backup. I want to say it was Williams. He went off the week before in their 45-48 loss against Seattle. He got over 100 and something yards. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he was definitely filling in for Swift in a very positive way, and they held him to, I think, like 50 something yards. So, they're definitely not the same player, obviously. I'm not trying to say that they're the same as Chubb, but I would like to think that because they were so successful in stopping the run last week, that they can be better. But last week they were only 1 week removed from getting blown up on the field by Aaron Jones. So, I mean, it really depends on what their game plan is. And I don't know. It's going to be interesting because, Nick Chubb is going to be the main guy. The Kareem Hunt has some decent numbers too. He has 57 carries for 247 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, obviously, everything is being run through Chubb, but they play very similarly with the Patriots, like I've said 1,000,001 times, where they pick and choose which back they're going to use depending on the situation, depending on the down, and depending on the defensive part of the opponent. So, I think Harris's numbers and Stevenson's are not super far apart. They're going to be farther apart now because Harris is missing games, but it's going to be an interesting game. So one thing that can work in the Patriots' favor is that Jacoby has tried to implement both of the backs in the passing game, particularly with screens, but they're not really seeing much success with either of them, which is a little different for the Patriots. I'll get into that in a second, but from what I've been reading up on, both Hunt and Chubb are capable in the passing game, and they've been used in the passing game since they've been in the league, basically. But the defenses that they faced have figured out what the play was going to be before they were able to execute it. So that, on a screen pass, that basically blows the play up before you can even do anything. So that has been a huge thing. So if the Patriots can be very aware of read what the offense is going to do, that could be a huge thing for them, especially because it's going to be difficult to stop either of them from running down your throat, basically. So they'll just have to, keep an eye out for this type of play, because they're going to be coming into this game knowing that the Patriots defense is prepared for them to be running the ball. So they might be trying to switch things up by getting them involved in the passing game. So we'll definitely have to look out for that. Now, switching over to the Patriot side, Damien Harris is out. We know that. So there's going to be a lot of work put on the shoulders of Ramondre Stevenson. Pierre Strong is still on the team. He's not really seen anything in a game yet, but we might see him more actually in this game, because last week they only had Damien Harris and Stevenson active for the game. So they're going to need help. They can't just throw Stevenson to the wolves and expect him to do it all by himself. So Pierre Strong will be available. And then Kevin Harris has been elevated from the practice squad to the 53-man roster, which for me, I feel like that kind of indicates that maybe he's shown some significant progress and improvement since he was drafted. Belichick mentioned that he did have some issues in ball security, which at the beginning of the season, and I'm assuming that somewhat is what led to him being on the practice squad. Hopefully that is something that has been an improvement, and I think so, because obviously there's other running backs that he could have chosen, especially JJ Taylor, who has experience playing with the Patriots in a regular season game. So the fact he chose the rookie over JJ Taylor, I don't know if it says more about JJ Taylor or if it says more about Kevin Harris, but I'm going to choose it says more about Kevin Harris, because I would just like to think that he's performing well. So it will be interesting to see how much they are going to try and use the rookies and kind of take some of that load off of Stevenson's shoulders. He's coming off of a 161-yard game last week once Damien Harris went out. So, knowing that we don't know how long Harris is going to be out, you don't want to overwork Stevenson, especially early on, because you don't want to risk injury and you don't want to tire him out. So I think that they are going to use him predominantly, maybe 75-25, 80-20. I would assume that we're going to see Harris and Strong maybe rotate snaps or something, because they're going to want to take advantage of the run game. The Browns run defense is not very good. So but this is some good stuff about Stevenson too, which I wanted to talk about. So he is well on his way to completely smashing his rookie season numbers. He already has 68 carries, and last year he had 133, so just a little over half of last year. And he has 372 yards compared to last season. He had 606 at the end. So, he's already performing so much better. He's being used so much more, and that's really exciting, especially because Harris is playing in a contract year, and it's assumed that they're probably not going to keep him, meaning that it's going to be put on Stevenson. He's showing more involvement in the passing game. He was 13 of 16 so far this season. Last year, he was 14 of 18. So, he's already projected to do way more in the passing game this season. And he has 71 total yards. Last year, he had 123. So, again, well more than half. He had 25 carries for 161 yards last week, averaging 6.4 yards per carry. And, he's going to be a huge part of the offense, no matter who the quarterback is this week. So I think that they're going to try and use him in all sorts of ways. And I wouldn't be surprised either if Jonnu Smith plays, we might see some plays involving him out of the backfield. Maybe Kendrick Bourne, try and switch things up, try to confuse the Browns defense. I really wouldn't be surprised about that. I'd love to see it, honestly, specifically with Kendrick Bourne, because if Jonnu is still kind of dealing with an ankle, I don't want to risk anything. But and who doesn't want to see Kendrick Bourne on the field more? I mean, are we being serious? So let's move on to the wide receivers. Of course, Amari Cooper for the Browns. And for the Patriots, I said, I don't know, because each and every week they are using a new guy. They've been all over the place with whoever the favorite receiver is based on the game. Essentially, we've had a big game from Nelson Aguilar, a big game from Devontae Parker. We had Jacoby Myers, which was a huge return last week. And I think he's going to be a security blanket no matter who the quarterback is. We know how much Mac and Jacoby have that chemistry. And I talked about it last week where Zappy loves him, a slot receiver. And we saw that connection very quickly last week. So I think we might see a big game from Jacoby. But we also have to consider that the Browns defense are going to be prepared for Jacoby coming out and being the wide receiver one. So if he's double covered or if he's kind of being shut down size wise, depending on who's covering him, who's that going to open up the door for? So is that going to be for Kendrick Bourne? Is it going to be Devontae Parker? Are we going to see a Hunter Henry game? I'm all for it. I really want to see the tight ends more involved, and I'm going to talk about the tight ends in a second. But I wonder if we're going to see Thornton. He was on the field last week finally in his first game of the season. So it's possible that we get that guy going, because I mean, there's going to be no tape on him this year, and it's going to be difficult for the Browns to try and prepare for a rookie receiver that they have no idea how to prepare for, and he's super fast. He's lanky. Chris says unleash Tyquan Thornton. Yes. Wouldn't be surprised if we see that, especially in a speed situation. It'll definitely be interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if one of these guys has their breakout game, because as I said, it's just been week to week. You can't really predict who it's going to be this week. And I'm excited no matter what it is. I just hope that they are able to continue on the trajectory they're on and looking more like a well-versed offense that is successful and can get the job done. As great as it is to have a defense that you can rely on and shut down the opponent and give you the ball, it's also nice to have an offense that can actually do something. So moving on to Amari Cooper. So last time that the Patriots played Amari Cooper was when he was on the Cowboys last year. And that was another situation where I feel the Cowboys kind of didn't have a clear number one, because it could have been Amari Cooper, it could have been CeeDee Lamb. And then their matchup last year with the Patriots, it was CeeDee Lamb. He kind of blew up the Patriots last year. And so Amari did not have a great game last year. He was 5 of 8 for 55 yards. And what I thought was really interesting, because Amari Cooper is a guy I have in a bunch of my fantasy leagues because he usually does really well. I have him on my bench this week, guys. Don't worry. I do not play that superstitious game of having a person against the Patriots on my team. I can't do it. But I did find this one stat interesting, that the last 3 times that the Patriots and Amari Cooper have matched up, basically, he has only totaled 83 yards on 8 receptions, and he's only averaged 2.7 yards per catch and 27.7 yards per game. So, the situation is a lot different this year. He wasn't necessarily the wide receiver one for the Cowboys last year, or at least not in the Patriots game, but he's definitely the clear front runner wide receiver one in Cleveland. So the Patriots will just have to keep doing what they've been doing, because historically they've looked great and shutting down Amari Cooper. So, and not just that, they've done a really great job at shutting down talented receivers this season. I mean, Jonathan Jones is usually the one that's going to go after their top guy, and he's been great playing on the outside for the first time in his entire career. And of course, we have Jack Jones and even Marcus Jones getting involved on the defense as well. We'll have Jalen Mills back this week. So, as long as they can maintain what they've been doing in the past, I think that they have a great shot at limiting him. I'm just like the Patriots. They're definitely going to be running the ball for the majority of the game, but you have to pass at some point. So, if they can be successful in limiting Amari Cooper, I think that's a huge thing. As they always say, Belichick loves to take away their top target. He wants to force you to rewrite what you were going to do and figure out a different game plan. And taking away Amari Cooper is probably going to be at the top of that list. But also, David Njoku will be there as well. He's had a breakout season so far. So talking about the tight ends, let's just get to Njoku first. So he's definitely become a more well-rounded tight end this year after he got that big contract in the offseason. So far this year, he's 24 of 29 for 289 and 1 touchdown. He's averaging 12 yards per catch. Oh my goodness, I have hiccups. And 57 yards per game. So, you know, if Amari is taken away and basically shut down, they can't leave Njoku open because he will beat you. He is a big man. He's fast. Obviously, he's a tight end. So Kyle Duggar is not going to have a necessarily easy day. And I'm hoping that he's going to be the guy that is matching up with Njoku, because when he missed that game against the Ravens, Mark Andrews just completely blew up the Patriots defense. And so if he is able to maintain Njoku, who I would say is an under the radar player on the Browns offense right now, then that's a huge help. They're just going to have to it's going to be interesting to see what Belichick tries to do, because I feel like there's a lot of aspects that they need to try and maintain, you know, and of course the run game is a huge priority, but you don't want to then leave Amari Cooper or Njoku open. I mean, you don't want to be beaten up by either of them. So, yes, Njoku, Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, talking about the Patriots tight ends, because I don't know if you guys remember, but the Patriots do have 2 tight ends. So Jonnu Smith, I mean, they're saying he's questionable at this point. He didn't play last week. I don't know if we've really gotten a lot of insight into how extreme his injury is. I'm assuming that because he's even limited in practice, that it's not as severe as it appeared when it first happened. But my assumption is that he's not going to play a ton if he is available for this game. And I'm really hoping that we see more involvement from Hunter Henry, because I'm just so disappointed in the vastly different seasons he's having compared to last year. You know, he had the best season of his career last year, and now he's barely involved. And it's really disappointing because we know how good he can be, and especially with Mac Jones, it's just really disappointing. So, you know, throwing a bigger bodied receiver onto the field for them can give whoever is at quarterback much more success offensively, and kind of takes a little bit of pressure off of the other guys on the offense that, you know, haven't been that amazing so far this year either. So I'm really hoping we see a big game from Hunter Henry. Maybe not even a big game, just more involvement. I mean, I know it's asking a lot. I'm asking for Kendrick Bourne, and I'm asking for a good game from Hunter Henry, but you know, a girl can dream, right? Hey, D22 Williams, what's up? Chris says, I do hope we see some more of Hunter Henry, especially in the red zone. Yeah, and I think, you know, as the Patriots continue to have a lot of issues in the red zone, I mean, we know that Hunter Henry is so good. I mean, that was like his main thing last year. It was like scoring touchdowns and was the biggest red zone target. So I would like to see them be more aggressive in that aspect as well. You know, not just settling for the 3 points, which is great. You're getting points, but you know, despite what we saw last night on the Thursday night game, if you actually suffered through that, which I didn't, but I did keep up with what was going on. Field goals don't win you games, not against opponents who are very capable of getting into the end zone. So, yeah, I would like to see a little bit more aggressive on 4th down, especially, but I just in the red zone in general, you know, less predictable plays, especially just running the football. I think the offensive line has proven to be much better than how the season began. So I don't think that is as concerning as it may have been, you know, in weeks 1 or week 2, you know, wanting to make sure that the quarterback is not getting hit or something. And so it's just easier to pass the ball off. Understandable. But I think that they've been holding their own, minus Isaiah Wynn. Yeah, so I'd like to see more passes, and, you know, if Hunter Henry can get involved, that would be awesome. So those were my main matchups and stuff to watch, I would say. So I do have some key points to a Patriots victory with, I mean, none of this is revolutionary, but still key points. So Patriots defense needs to get to the quarterback. Anything they can do to bring the pressure, knock him down, hurry him up, do something. Apply that pressure to Jacoby Brissett, because we know when he's in pressured situations is when he messes up, hence why he has those 3 interceptions when they needed him to score some points or at least get them into field goal range. So that'll be very important. And then on the other side, the Patriots offensive line is, the Patriots defense, yes, they are the second and lowest sack rate allowed. So we've been seeing big games from Matthew Judon, Dietrich Wise. They're gonna have to really work in getting to Jacoby. So and the thing, as great as sacks are, I just want to see a lot of pressure put on Jacoby, because that can mess a guy up pretty easily. And like I said, with him throwing interceptions in moments where he had the game on the line with whatever he did, I think that if you start off bringing that pressure and making him nervous, then that could really work in the Patriots' favor. But their offensive line is doing a pretty good job so far, so they're going to have to figure out a way to knock them off their feet as well. Slow down the run game as much as possible, which we've gone over. But, if you can take away their bread and butter and force Brissett to throw the football, that's probably a huge win. And the same thing can be said for the Browns defense as well. Both teams are going to be using the run game. That's the thing. Both of them are going to be trying to run to victory, as I like to say. But if the Patriots defense can protect up the middle, if Lawrence Guy is going to play, that's a huge win for them. But don't let them beat you on the ground. Huge thing. And of course, run the ball. We want to see a big game from Stevenson again. I would love to see more involvement with Pierre Strong Jr. and Kevin Harris. Exploit another weak run defense, which they've been facing a lot this season. Take advantage of the fact that you have to run the football and you're facing a team that is struggling in stopping it. So take advantage of that. Dominate the time of possession. The Browns are first in average time of possession with 34 minutes and 31 seconds, which is huge. So you want to make sure that you're keeping them off of the field, because the more time they are on the field, the more time they have the chance to score. Chris says control the line on both sides of the ball. Absolutely. Definitely just want to see the offensive line continue to protect the quarterback as well as they have been. And I want the defensive line to show strength in stopping the run. It's been something that we've talked about, I feel like, a broken record at this point over the last few years. But I think Lawrence Guy coming back is going to be a huge thing. And I'm hopeful that he is healthy enough that he can. I think that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable with the run game going against a dual-headed monster that is Chubb and Hunt. So yes, I agree with you 1000%. But so the time of possession, we know that the Patriots have had some issues with that, especially when they're in the red zone. They're just not able to do anything, and they can go quickly 3 and out. So, just try and limit their time on the field. That's all I'm saying. No turnovers. I feel like, again, it's not revolutionary. They've been doing pretty well in that category over the last 2-ish games. Haven't seen any fumbles. I'm knocking on wood. I think Zappe only had, did he even have an interception last week? I don't know. Now I have to look. I want to say yes, he did. Patriots versus Lions. I want to say he did, but I feel like that's wrong. Let's see. Yes, okay, he did have an interception. Who caught their interception? Wait, that was a fumble. Who got the intercept? Oh, Deshaun Elliott. Okay. I just don't even remember this. It didn't even stand out of my mind. So yeah, still not bad. There was no fumbles. Yes, they only had fumble recoveries, which of their own fumbles. So, yeah, so as long as they can keep on that, then I think that they are good. Stop the silly penalties, which that is I should have added Isaiah Wynn because he is the main culprit of that, but then also the special teams has been a bit of an issue in that regard as well. But don't take away opportunities for yourself on the field. Do not give the Browns any opportunities, or that was an issue with in the Browns game, in the Packers game, where they kept giving them fresh sets of downs. So, stop the silly penalties. D22 Williams says, have you tried to get Mina Kimes to do an appearance on your show? You and Mina have similarly impressive depths of football knowledge, and she has launched a podcast in addition to her ESPN gig. No, I haven't. I have not. Mina is really cool for women to look up to, that is for sure, and it's really cool to see her have such a prominent role on ESPN. I'm not sure. You'll have to let me know, D22 Williams, if you're familiar of her doing like smaller shows or podcasts or stuff like that, because with some of the people who are on ESPN or Fox or FS1, whatever, NFL Network, I don't know how much they extend themselves to be on the smaller shows, and to help like younger creators out. I'm not sure. But I'll have to look into that, because if that is a possibility, then that would be really cool. Haven't had a guest on in a while, so I want to get into that a little bit more, but sometimes I just love being by myself. But having another woman on the show would be awesome. I haven't done that. Oh no, I had Tanya on in the preseason, but that would be cool. If you have any information on that, just let me know. You can even comment on my YouTube like you usually do, and so if you find it out that way, that is cool. Chris says Matt Judon needs to apply the people's elbow to Jacoby Brissett. I am here for it. And Chris also says solo Sarah. Yeah, I know. I was gonna ask you guys, the ones that are always in here, if you guys prefer one or the other. Do you prefer when I'm by myself? Do you prefer if I have a guest, or do you not care? Do you like it both ways? You know what I'm saying? Like, just let me know, because I haven't had a guest on recently, and sometimes it's just because it's easier for me to just type up my notes and know what I'm gonna say, and know how I'm gonna control and flow through the show, if that makes sense. But yeah, I sometimes I'm itching for somebody to be on here, whether it's Pat or Murph or somebody new. Let your girl know. I think that's all that I have for today, unless you guys have some more to talk about. Of course, Heyo Foxboro should be back on Monday to go over the Patriots Browns game and review it at 5 p.m. Eastern. But yeah, that's all I have to say, really, guys. I am excited for this matchup. I am very optimistic. I am hopeful. Very hopeful, but that's just how I am all the time. Chris says you can mix and match and have the occasional guest. Yeah, I think that's just the easiest for me at this point, especially with, I'm trying to find a compensated job and I'm not sure, whenever that happens, what my schedule is going to look like. And so it's just a lot easier to not have to try and work around someone else's schedule when I'm already trying to work around mine, if that makes sense. So Chris also predicts that the Patriots win in zappy time, 20-17. My guess, and I'm terrible at making predictions of scores. I generally don't try to do it. And part of it is because I'm superstitious, but also because I'm just, football is so different. It's really hard to predict, and I'm horrible at it. But I think I predicted yesterday on the podcast, which you can listen to tomorrow, 24-21 Patriots. I think it's going to be a close game. And I'm putting it out into the universe that the Patriots are going to win, because I need it. I do not want them to be 2-4, but I believe that would be lined up with how they performed through 6 weeks last year. Sorry. D22 Williams also says ditto, mix and match. All right, I will try and get some more people on here. I need to maybe look and see who else I can ask. I thought about having Claire from One Patriots Place on here, but the time difference is, a little tricky because she's 5 hours ahead. So we'll figure something out. But thank you guys for the feedback as always. And if you're watching this on replay, make sure you let me know how you feel as well. And for me and the rest of the Patriots nation. I will be live tweeting WWE SmackDown tonight. She would be good to go at 10 p.m. But that would be 5 p.m. my time, I think. Yeah. She usually is on at I think the One Patriots Place is on at, I want to say it's at 10 a.m. my time. So it's 3 p.m. her time. I don't know. I can always try and figure something out, and ask her if there's a way we can figure it out. I mean, if there's a day that I need to do it a little bit earlier just to work around that, I feel like it would be cool. I always love talking to Claire. She's such a nice girl, and I feel like we think very similarly when it comes to the Patriots and football in general. And even though I am not the tight end queen, I called myself the tight end princess because I love a tight end too. So tight ends are a lot of my favorite players in football. So I will have to reach out to her and see if we could figure something out. So yeah. Yes, I agree, Chris. Thank you so much. It's a great idea. And so I was going to say I will be live tweeting WWE SmackDown tonight. Bray Wyatt is returning, so if that is something you are interested in, I will be doing that. But until then, let's go Pats on Sunday, and I will see you guys on Monday. Have a great evening, guys, and I will talk to you later. Bye.